Claude just cut down 80% of the system prompts from Opus 5 and Fable 5. Here's what you should be aware about the new rules of context engineering. The talk of the town is that Anthropic removed over 80% of Claude Code's system prompt for its new models with no measurable loss on the coding evaluations, right? So today in this video, we'll be looking at how we can use 6 best practices which will help you work with Claude Opus 5 and Fable 5 in the right way, and you can get the best output from least amount of prompt from these models. Now, moving away from rules to judgment. Earlier, we used to have strict criteria like never write comments in code existed to guard against worst case outcomes even when they were wrong for many situations, right? Now what you do is let Claude do the judgment. Like, does it require the comments, or what kind of comments does this code snippet require? Let Claude do the judgment for that, right? Newer models handle nuances really well. They can weigh context and conflicting signals to reach the right call on their own. Because these models have become really smart, it's not obvious that we always, give them strict instructions to work with. For example, like an old prompt looks like this: default to writing no comments, never write multilingual doc strings. Now, new prompt would look like that: write code that reads like the surrounding code, matches its comment density, naming, and idiom, right? That way, Claude will be able to understand that it needs to adapt to the old, coding standards that you have already built and work on that. Now, second shift is that we are moving from examples to interface designs. Now, instead of showing sample tool calls, we design a self-explaining tool. Now, examples box Claude into one exploration path. A well-designed tool shapes teaches the right behavior on its own. So I'll give you a simple example, like a to-do tool with status values like pending, in progress, completed signals the intended behavior through its field names alone. So no example tool call is required here. So earlier we used to start explaining Claude that what is pending, what is in progress, what is completed, right? But because these models are getting smarter day by day, we no more need to, load the context by explaining all these things. These things are already understood by the models as they are intelligent enough. Now, the third shift is from upfront everything to progressive disclosure, right? Earlier, we used to load it all at once. In a big system prompt, we used to write a lot of instructions, right? Instead of that, like as the example states, that verification steps, review checklist, and edge cases live directly in the system prompt, whether or not the task was needed at that time, right? Now, you load the context only when needed. Claude fetches skills and deferred tools on demand, right? Context stays lean until the task actually needs more calls for that specific use case, right? Like code review and verification moved out of the main prompt into their own dedicated skill. Claude Code calls them only when it's reviewing or verifying the work. Instead of having it in the main system prompt, it's now better to have it in separate system prompts so that Claude can refer to that system prompt whenever it is needed, so that your context can remain lean and things can be, so that more things you can discuss in that specific chat. The fourth shift is from repeating yourself to simple tool descriptions, right? We often say things twice, right? Tool usage rules appeared in both the system prompt and the tool description, since older model responded better to repeated instructions, correct? Now, since the models are becoming smarter day by day, what we do is that we have one clear source, right? Usage guidance lives in the tool description alone. Claude reads it there when relevant. So duplication adds noise rather than clarity. Let's read the example. Instructions on how to use search tool were deleted from the system prompt entirely and now live only in the tool's description field. So instead of writing at multiple places what the tool call actually does, it's better to have it only in the description part. That way, Claude will be better able to understand that this is the use case of the tool. I don't have to repeat it again and again in the system prompt because models are smarter now. So it's very easy for the models to understand from the description and then start working on the task. So you can have simple tool descriptions instead of repeating yourself throughout the skill or the prompt that you're writing. Manual memory to auto memory. So earlier we used to have hotkey to remember, like users pressed a hotkey to manually write notes into claude.md file. So Claude would carry the context forward. Now Claude remembers on its own. Relevant details from the past session get saved automatically without a manual setup from the user. So this removes you out of the loop wherein you have to go to claude.md file, write down all the instructions, what all things you have performed in a session, what Claude needs to remember for the next session. So this will happen automatically with Opus 5 and Fable 5 models. A user's preference coding style gets picked up and retained across sessions without ever being written down in a file, right? So instead of you going manually writing about your coding style and everything, whenever you start coding or start doing a task, it will automatically recognize those things and write it down in your claude.md file. So that is kind of an auto memory system that's built in. The sixth and the final shift is that from simple specs, give rich references. Now, instead of telling your plans in just simple markdown languages, like plans and spec lived in a markdown file, this worked, but the prose description carry limited precision, right? Instead of that, you can give code grade references. Claude can work from HTML mockups, test suite, reference codebase, and rubrics. So for example, instead of describing a modern clean button, Claude gets an actual HTML mockup to match precisely. A rubric can even let Claude verify design taste by spinning up its own verifying agent. So what you can do is, instead of just telling that, what should the button look like, if you can give some reference to it in forms of HTML images or something like that, it will be able to better generate things, right? And a rubric metric, if you can give that this is how the button should look like, from this scoring to this scoring, you should tell me that, what is the final score of this. Based on that, it will do its verifying on its own and give its score. And based on that, it will verify that, okay, this was the previous score, this is the new score. Is it increased or decreased, right? Based on that, it will redo its work and get you the final output which you desired to get. So these are the 6 shifts that you should be aware about when you are talking to Claude Opus 5 or Fable 5 the next time. So you can try this yourself. Anthropic built a command that applies these lessons to your own setup automatically, right sizing skills, and claude.md files. So you can use the /doctor command in your Claude code and it will get the task done for you. So these were the 6 shifts that I wanted to share with you, and I hope you like this video. Thank you for watching.